challenges. Welcome YouTube. Welcome, hopefully, future Facebook to Foil Freedom. I'm so excited to bring this workshop to all of you. We checked in with my mailing list and said, what are you guys struggling with? How can I help? What are some of the things that you wish you could do differently, new, better, different to, save time behind the chair. We're always looking for ways to earn more money and save some time. And something I've seen as an educator is a lot of overfoiling, and a lot of simple habits that people start doing that they don't realize they're doing. When I do one-on-one foil classes, the people that come out the other end of the class say, oh my gosh, I am so much faster. This is so much easier. Where have you been all my life? So that is the aha moment that I want you to have when you go into the salon tomorrow or the next day, whatever your schedule is. I want you to see color differently. I want you to step back and look at things differently and not be so autopilot. So I am going to share my screen for these fun, funky foils that Bryn, my tech genius behind the scenes, takes care of, which everybody on Facebook's probably freaking out right now that they can't get on, but it's all good because they can jump over to YouTube. So thank you for being on YouTube, and thank you for your patience. So we asked when we had you sign up for this class, what was the reason that you signed up? What resonated with you? What is it that you hope to get out of this class? And these are some of the things that you shared with us, which we were not surprised by. One person said, I get totally overwhelmed with highlight and low lighting for long hair. I totally overfoil and get lost in the middle of the process. I need a simpler way of doing it. Faster foil placement to look like the most coverage. Thank you for the offer. My foiling takes way too long. I just had a baby. I need to book more in a shorter time. I am a new stylist having trouble with placement and understanding how it looks with highlights. I get that horizontal gives you sheets of blonde and vertical more dimension, but diagonal forward and diagonal back is confusing. I agree. Foiling is taking me too long and going past next guest time, I get frustrated and then it's downhill from there. So we get hijacked. We get completely flustered when we start overfoiling. We're looking at the clock. We start freaking out because we know that we're totally behind. And then it leads to all the other issues of rinsing too soon and getting a very warm, brassy result because we didn't have the time to let it do its thing. So these are all very, very common things that we're going to talk about. I want to learn highlighting techniques that are more efficient and intentional. Whenever I do foils, I get orange. I do the front first and use 20 volume and 30 volume for the crown down. We're going to talk about volumes of developer and why she's getting that orange. And then last but not least, I overthink, overfoil, and need to think smarter and not harder. I own my own salon and I am alone with no booth renters in a small salon space. I want to explore and learn more techniques and options to enhance my trade, to make myself more marketable and consistent in my work. So a big reason why I do what I do and why I now teach full-time is because the rise of the suite model and the trend right now of people getting right out of beauty school and wanting to hit their ground running and go on their own behind the chair in a salon and not have any mentorship or any help is why I created the Hair Color Secrets Insider, the Inner Circle, the coffee chats, all the things that any of you have seen me do. The reason behind it was I had stylists coming to work for me and they were completely unprepared to be behind the chair. And then I had to pick up where beauty school or the salon that they were in before they came to work with me left off. And it was a lot of like hurrying up and trying to jam information down their throat. And they needed that community. They needed that mentorship. And that's what we're all here to do. That's why I'm sharing this with you tonight, because there's nothing better than a supportive group of people that are like, oh, I used to do that and now I do this and this is better. So that's what we're here to do, to make everything easier and give you the freedom that you deserve, no matter what your years of experience are. So I'm sure you can put in the comments, how many years have you been doing hair? I'm sure there's a vast majority of people from just got their license last week to one toe in retirement. When am I ever going to get to retire? And what does that look like? So all different ages, all different years of experience. And the good news is these techniques and all the things I'm going to share with you have nothing to do with years of experience. I can take someone, I've taught Bryn, my daughter, who's not a hairdresser, I've taught her how to do a basic foil on her friends in one session. She never went to beauty school because I get right to the point. It's intentional, it's purposeful, there's a reason, there's a why for every step, and it's not foiling like an AI robot. So if you saw my post leading up to this class, you saw that I grabbed this picture because when I saw this, my heart dropped. I was like, you think that when you're in the service industry that we are safe from AI and all the modern technology taking our job away. But the truth is, these robots are going to be able to do a haircut. They're going to be able to do things that we do. We are replaceable, and it's really freaking scaring. So it's just like a client doing their hair at home versus the client in our salon. If we're slapping on, and I'm saying slapping on because that's what I see, I'm not being sarcastic. I see people apply color and I'm like, oh my gosh, you are not doing it any better than a client can do in their bathroom at home. You're just keeping it off the walls. Sections this thick, not fully saturating, not taking time to really be, on point and put it where it belongs and not, overlap and all of the things. So just like that with foiling, you don't want to be an autopilot foiler and just do what you did when you learned it in beauty school and just keep doing the same pattern you learned possibly 20 years ago. It's easy to fall into that pattern because we say, oh, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But we also are spending way too much time foiling because we think that we have to foil, do a weave, put a foil in, put the lightener on, fold it up, take a little skinny section between and take the next piece and the next piece and the next piece. And there's no why behind it. There's no, does this hair I'm picking up even need to be a highlight? Sometimes it doesn't need to be. So I want you to break free of the robotic motion, of the foiling just a foil, of the putting the piece in the foil just because it's the next piece, and really take what you learned tonight and change immediately when you go back into the salon. Don't overthink it. Don't save it for a rainy day. Don't say, I'm going to do this on a doll head 6 months from Wednesday. Just do it. Just try these techniques. And I promise you, you will be like a different person and your clients will notice too. So understanding foil placement and customizing your techniques, not rinse and repeat, same section, the beauty school sectioning with the mohawk down the center. I see it every day. I see it on, training sessions on social media, on YouTube, everywhere. It's like the same pattern over and very famous colorists that I've been to their classes do the same thing on every single client too. So to me, that's not special. That's not high ticket. That's just assembly line, get them in, get them out, do the same thing, and everybody looks alike. Doing it on purpose with intention equals a full book and a wait list. Every colorist that works with me that has been trained by me is busy every single day and has a wait list, always waiting to get that last minute canceled appointment. And that is on purpose. That's not accidental. It's because we take the time to look at the client, really give them a long and thorough consultation. I think consultation is the most skipped over, avoided, and rushed part of the service. And it's understandable because we have a client, say we have a client at 10 a.m., another one at 10:30, another one at 11. However you're booking yourself, chances are you don't have a lot of time to really go deep on the consultation. And that, in my opinion, when training people, is where the most things go wrong because the client's not feeling heard. You're rushing into mixing without really doing a deep dive on what is in the hair. I always call it what lies beneath. It's like a science fiction movie, what lies beneath. A lot of times we have no idea what that hair has underneath what you're seeing on the surface. My hair right now looks blonde, and this could be that I got highlights on top of a box color that was level 4 2 weeks ago. But when I sit in your chair, you think, oh, she's always been a blonde. And you're mixing according to the assumption that there's not anything underneath there. There could be henna, there could be splat, there could be all kinds of things. So taking the time for a proper consultation is huge and will immediately make a difference in your having a full book and a wait list, because your clients will notice, especially if they're coming to you for the first time from another salon when they weren't getting the attention there. That's why they came to you. So remember that. So I am Elaine Travis. Most of you, I didn't introduce myself right away because you were all on my email list. I did not do paid ads for this class. I did not, reach out to friends and say, hey, can you please share this on 72 forums? I literally just sent it out to my email list because there's a reason that you're on my list. You may have been, not opening emails for a while, and then you saw this and said, hey, free class, I'm coming, which I'm glad that you're here. But a lot of times we send emails weekly and people just don't even open them because they figure like, what the heck is it? And, I'm too busy and everybody's getting too many emails. So I have specialized in color for over 20 years. I've been a stylist almost 40 years. I am a completely brand-free independent educator. You may hear me talk in the Q&A today. We're going to have an awesome Q&A session at the end of this. So please hang in till the end. And you may hear me say Redken Shades EQ, Wella Color Touch, L'Oreal Magie color. Like, you may hear me name brands, but it doesn't mean that I work for that brand or I get paid from that brand. It just means that that's what I've used behind the chair. That's what I'm the most familiar with. But I also speak in terms of level 6 natural, level 6 ash, level 6 copper. So I try to make it as brand agnostic as possible. So let's uncover the top sexy and not so sexy tips to foil freedom. You're going to want to stay until the end. Like I said, if you are tired of, these are the common things that everybody struggles with. Foiling hair for 4+ hours. I can't tell you how many forums I see people, and it's not, I'm brand new out of school. I have had these times when I'm like foiling, and I'm like, is it ever going to end? And it is over 4 hours. But when that happens with me, it's more a corrective situation, not a basic foil. Luckily, the more lived in styles are in, the more face framing. There's ways of giving a lot of impact without foiling for 4 hours. Bleeding foils. Anybody on this class right now, if you say you never have a bleeding foil, I would probably not believe you. Most of us have had it happen, whether it's going in between the foils with a glaze and you're disrupting the foils from their shifting off their base, or maybe the lightener was mixed too loose. Maybe you're foiling with color. We're going to talk about a tip for that later, but there's so many variables that go into it. But I'm going to give you as many tips as possible to avoid the bleed, and also how to fix the bleed once it happens. And it's so super simple. Running behind schedule. We always underestimate how long it's going to take us. And, then we end up rushing through the processing part of the service. And that is where the hair needs to sit with the lightener on to get the full lightening process effectively and brass free. It needs to really sit and slowly process. So booking yourself too close together and not having any pair of hands and being by yourself, you're causing yourself a lot of stress that's completely unnecessary. Uneven and improper lifting. Again, it's lazy saturation, too thick of a section. There's so many reasons for uneven and improper lifting we're going to talk about. And I'm sure everyone has experienced that as well. And then placement analysis paralysis. Oh my gosh, where do I even start? I see people all the time in group forums, hair color groups. They have an inspo pic of the client. I'm like an idiot savant when it comes to that kind of thing. Like, I can look at a picture and my mind immediately goes into how to almost sketch it in my mind. When I'm teaching a new person color, I say, pretend that your color brush is a pen or a marker, and where you want to see the color, where you want to see the ribbon, that's where you're going to section the hair, and that's where you're going to put the foil. But a lot of times we're standing up over top of our client's head, looking down, and all we see is the top of the head. And it's just this brown or, dark blonde, whatever the base is, but it's just, all this stuff on top. And we're not actually stepping back and seeing what does that hair need in particular. And, what's the best way to approach it so that I get that impact where I need it and not feel like I have to do it all over the entire head all at the same time. Over processed French fried hair. I could have a whole hour class just on that. I'll share my personal opinion on foiling at the same time as a single process, the way that I like to do it versus the way I see it done a lot that results in over processed French fried hair. I'll share with you, I think that with the introduction of bond builders and all these amazing new products, we've gotten to the point where we think that we're superheroes behind the chair and we think that the hair can handle a lot more than it can. I had kickboxing today. I go every Monday, and my friend has really dark hair, level 4 hair, and likes super pale blonde. And she's like, "Oh, I'm getting my hair done." And she held up her ends, and somebody said, "Oh, I thought you got it cut because it looks a little layered." She goes, "No, that's breakage." She's like, "I can't fool Elaine. I'm not going to lie in front of her because she's going to call me out and know that it's breakage." So, you have to be the person that tells the client what is practical for them to do. It's a difference between what they want and what they should have. And you need to be so strong in your conviction as a colorist to know what the hair can handle and what it can't. And no amount of bond builder is going to prevent that type of breakage if you're overlapping, if you are, just have simple little habits that cause you to do those things. And, Ted Gibson, one of the funniest things I've ever seen him say at a class was, "Oh, the pocket curl." And I'm like, "What's the pocket curl?" And he goes, "When you're combing out your client at the bowl and all the hair is coming out and you're like, oh crap, I got to get rid of this because you don't want to put it in the sink because the client always stands up and they turn around and they look in the sink." So he says, I take it out and I put it in my pocket so that the client doesn't see it. So I loved that analogy of the pocket curl because we've all been there where there's more hair in the brush than is left on the head, and it is no fun. It usually only happens to us once in our career, and then we start to pay attention to porosity and protein and moisture and all the things that the hair needs. And then dependence on trendy tools. I see so many stylists getting overly dependent on foiling boards, on those special vellum combs where you pick up the section with the vellum comb. It's great to have those toys to inspire you, to step you out of your comfort zone, to do something a little bit different. But like I was just in the other side of Florida doing my friend's hair, and I didn't have a salon to work out of. I had no hair product. I went with a carry-on, so I wouldn't be able to carry anything with me. And I went into a suite and I asked the girl, she's like, "What do you need?" I said, "I need a tail comb and a couple clips and some foil." And she was like surprised that that's all I needed. But I'm like, at the end of the day, that is all you need. You should be able to do highlights with a tail comb, foil, and a couple clips, and your lightener and your bowl and your brush, period. So I'm not into I don't do the air touch or any of those things. It's great to break the monotony, but not necessary. Using a scale is one of my number one tips. I have been guilty of, I would say the first 20 years of my career, I was a mix my lightener by feel and by texture. I would just keep adding developer until it was the consistency that I liked. And when I started measuring my lightener per manufacturer's instructions, I stopped getting uneven lift. I stopped having the lightener dry out. I stopped having a lot of issues when I started to weigh. So yes, it's another step. Yes, it can be a pain in the butt, but when I tell you, huge difference. So this video that just already played, let me see if I can get it to play again because I don't ever shut up long enough for you to enjoy it. So this is Truda when I started doing her hair. This was us in Salon Centric. And I was like, holy Batman, you need a hair color rescue. Holy banding Batman. She is a salon hoe. She's a busy realtor, and she never makes an appointment for her next visit to any salon to be loyal to when she's leaving. So she gets a single process. So she came to me. I'm not responsible for this. Trust me, none of that is me. So she came to me when I lived in Philadelphia. I don't live there anymore. She's had to go to different places. And then when I go see her once or twice a year, I'm like, oh, dear Lord, you're coming to my salon and we're fixing this mess. And I do all these things to make it all back to normal and everything even. And then for 3 to 4 weeks later, she's texting me saying, can anybody in your salon squeeze me in today? I need my roots done. And I'm like, stop being the squeezed in girl, because the squeezed in girl is going to have bands. They don't know your hair history. They don't know, how to match what you have. And they're going to just guess and they're going to put something on. And what happens with a single process retouch, the day of, you can get away with anything. I'm sure you've seen it happen. You do a touch up and you're like, is it going to be too light, too dark, too warm, too whatever? And then the client's finished and you're like, damn, I nailed that. That looks perfect. And then the client comes in 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, and you're like, oh my God, what is this nonsense here? Like, what is this band of color? And it's because you really didn't nail it. It just kind of blended in with what was on the head. And when it starts to fade, then your true sins come out. So she's a salon hopper. And I'm like, you're never going to have even pretty color and you're always going to have brassiness. And she was so brassy and so orange and so uneven. And the other girl holding up her hair with the scale photo is another friend of mine who's in the industry. She is a sales rep for Wella. So she goes in and out of salons all day. And she is infamous for jumping in someone's chair and saying, can you throw my roots on? And she does base breaks. So if you do base breaks regularly, depending on how far out the hair is grown out, you're going to get a completely different result. So when she holds up her hair there, this is what she sent to me when she said, I need you to help me fix this hair. You can see every visit that she's had in that strand of hair. It's all different shades. So it's our responsibility to let our clients know that they need to be loyal. They need to have a regular schedule in order to get the best results. So using a scale is huge. So thicker is quicker. We're all guilty of, I know I would be, especially Wella Blondor. I'm going to throw a little bit of shade on Wella Blondor. So I would mix up my lightener by feel and by eye, not measuring it. And I would be, halfway up the back of the head, and I'd go to pick up lightener with my brush, and it would be like all puffy and dried out and weird. And I would go to the dispensary and I would grab whatever volume developer I was using, and I would add more developer and fluff it back up and keep using it. So by adding more developer, I was under the impression, not being a chemist, not really understanding how hair color works, I was like, oh, keeping it wet is good, right? We say, don't let it dry out. Don't let it dry out. So I'm adding developer. The developer is actually weakening the strength of the product. Now I am halfway through the back of the head. The underneath in the back is already processing, already, getting ahead of me. And now I'm weakening my mixture by adding more developer. I used to have one of those little rubbery salad dressing squirty things with developer on my tray. And I would just keep squirting more, thinking I was making it stronger. It's the total opposite. Thicker is quicker. So if manufacturer directions say 1-to-1, you're going to get maximum, major lifting. If you want to slow it down a little bit, 1 to 1.5. If you really want to slow it down, 1 to 2. So remember that developer is acidic, and it's going to actually calm down the lightener and not make it work faster. So that was huge for me. The thicker is quicker. I hope that little rhyme sticks with you and you remember that when you go to mix your lightener. So don't play beat the clock. Oh, I can't tell you. I spent the first 10 years of my career playing beat the clock. I would be looking at the clock, thinking, how long was this foil in when I started in the back? And, Do I have to hurry up and get it off? Is the hair going to be completely done when I'm still working on this other hair? Instead of doing that and using the same volume of developer throughout the entire head, resist the urge to mix a giant vat. I mean, there's a famous colorist. I'm not going to say names. Most of you will know just by me saying it. Famous LA, does all the celebrities and mixes up this ginormous like bucket of bleach in the beginning of the day and scoops out a thing, plops it in a bowl, slaps on the foils, moves on to the next one, next one, next one. That client at 9 a.m. is getting a much stronger lightener than the client at 11, 12, whatever time. So please don't do that. I can't even believe that that's even a thing because again, fresh lightener, fresh mix is always going to do the best job. Think about your coffee. Like I'm drinking decaf coffee here. My last sip is never as good as my first sip because it's been sitting. It's getting cold. It's not like piping hot. It's been sitting. So same thing with lightener. So small batches and varying your volume of developer from start to finish. I personally like to start in the back of the hair because I know that I can take the client to the sink and I can lean them back and I can pull the foils from underneath and rinse them with the strength of the water pressure to get all that lightener off without disrupting any of these foils. So if I start up here, I'm not able to just rinse these without disrupting these that were done later. So strategically starting in one spot and working away is an easy way to be able to take them to the sink and rinse. But even better is if it's someone who's a level, 6 or 7, start with 5 volume down here, then go to 10 volume, then 15 volume, then 20 volume, go from 5 to 20. There's rarely a reason to go past 20. And I'm going to share a video with you on the why for that. But starting with 5 and going to 20, your client is going to be processed all at the same time. Everything is going to be beautiful and evenly lifted. And then you're going to take her to the sink and remove. As you put them in is how you take out. So when someone's finished, you have somebody hold all the foils up and you pull the bottom foil, rinse, rinse, rinse. Pull the next foil, rinse, rinse, rinse. Doing this and pulling 400 foils out at the same time, you took all of that time putting those foils in one by one, and then you're pulling them all out, most times piling them into a big pile of sludge in the sink. The client has long hair. Their hair is sitting on top of that sludgy mess of bleach. And if there's low lights, even worse. Take the time to rinse one by one because that's how they were put in. And that's timing wise. This is always going to need to come out before this. So by doing that, you're giving this stuff that was done last, which the client wants to be lightest in the front. You're giving this stuff the extra time that it needs. Huge. Just right there. Hopefully that was worth, your time coming to this class. Mixing your developer, having your developer work for you, not against you, and not beating the clock. So this is the video. The Alka-Seltzer tablets represent the strength of the developer. So the 10, 20, 30, and 40 volume, what you're going to notice is the higher volumes, you're going to get a lot more foam. It's going to shoot up in the glass right away. It gets like angry and crazy. The 10 is like super chill, staying in the same spot. It's still fizzing. It's still lasting just as long, but it's not angry and crazy jumping up off of the glass the way, like, look how high the 40 is. The 30 is a little bit lower, 20 a little bit lower, and so forth. So we were all taught a bunch of BS with developer. We're taught that if we're mixing permanent color, and I'm not going to get into a whole formulation class because we'll be here till midnight, but when we're formulating, we're told 10 volume gives you 1 level of lift, 20 volume, 2 levels, 30 volume, 3 levels, 40 volume, 4 levels. It doesn't work that way. The difference between 10 volume and 40 volume is the speed at which the lightning action happens. I'm going to say that again. The difference is how fast it acts, not how far it acts. So 10 volume, and I want you to do this. The next time a client gets a good chop, take their hair and make swatches with it and do this experiment. Set your timer, do one swatch with 10 volume, one with 20, one with 30, one with 40. And I want you to see the results. I've done it so many different times in classes, and the 10 volume is always the prettiest color because low and slow is the game. Low and slow will protect the integrity of the hair. It's going to discourage brassiness. 40 volume, we've all been told like, oh, use 40 because she's going to get stuck in that yellow stage. Guess what? What happened with that Alka-Seltzer is it fuzzed up and got angry, and then it stopped when the 10 volume was still going. So the 10 volume is going to still be going an hour later. The 40 volume goes in, says, look out, here I am. I'm going to go blasting through this hair. It's like destroying the cuticle layer of the hair and blowing it all up like a bomb. I want you to think about developer and lightener as shingles on a roof. So I just survived a hurricane, so it's a good analogy. So shingles on the roof are nice and compact the way they're supposed to be. And, you know, a little bit of wind comes and might lift up your shingle a teeny tiny bit. You get a little bit of a curl in the front. No damage, no water in the house, no big deal. 20 volume, it's lifting it a little bit more. 30 volume, you have a problem, you're calling the roofer. 40 volume, the roof is off. So think about that when you're reaching for these volumes. I know you've been taught it's faster. Oh, it's so much faster. You know, you'll get your client in and out. But I promise you, if you're doing this on the regular, you're also here because you heard that I was going to tell you that we're going to talk about not having brassy results. We're going to talk about, you know, doing things easier, better, quicker, all the things. You probably thought I was going to tell you to use 60 volume, 70 volume, or 100 volume, but that's not true. Why throw shade at Wella? I see your question. So my experience with the, I'm sorry. I totally stand corrected. It wasn't Wella. It was, oh my God. I'm looking at the bag. It's Flash Lift. It wasn't even Blonder. I'm sorry. It was Flash Lift. It just completely dried. No matter what I did, no matter how much I measured on a scale, whatever, it just dried out. I would open my foils and it'd be like dust falling out. So sorry about that. It is not Wella Blonder. It was Flash Lift. And I know Flash Lift was having all problems with those black dots and all that stuff. So I just stopped using it. So back on track. I shouldn't have peeked at the questions because then I get ADD. So again, start in the back of the head. This way it processes before the rest of the hair. You can easily rinse without disrupting the rest of the foils. And that's not, when I say start in the back of the head, I'm talking about a foil on long hair that's getting a lot of foils done. That's not for every single case. And we're going to talk about different patterns for different scenarios. But that's, if you're doing the whole entire head, I recommend starting underneath in the back, and then you can always rinse it. Again, I already said, don't mix a giant vat of lightener. Don't be tempted at the beginning thinking you're going to save time. It's actually going to cause more time with trying to get everything to be taken down, in the time you're going to go through with those gloves, and you're going to be wiping it off, and with the towels, and you have foil and the burnt fingers and all the things. I'm not a fan of that. I'd rather be strategic about my placement so that I don't have to worry about doing that, and letting my developers work for me, not against me. So again, low and slow is best. Higher volumes increase the speed, not the lift. And same goes with single process. So when a young girl comes to us, I would say in the last 5 years, I've seen a shift in the industry of everybody gets bleach no matter what. It's bleach and tone, bleach and tone, bleach and tone. It may be teasy lights, foliage, air touch, whatever the techniques, it's bleach and tone, bleach and tone, bleach and tone. I spent the first, I would say 25 years of my career using hair color for highlights in the best way ever. Like, clients didn't get that harsh line of regrowth. It was beautiful and sun-kissed. Like you see this girl here, she was a virgin when she came to me. You see her in the before photo. After, she has beautiful sun-kissed highlights. Now, she's not platinum or silver or any of the trends that are going on right now, but most girls, when they're young girls, like she was in college, they don't want the upkeep. They don't want the expense of going through, like a platinum card and any of those things. She was like, oh, I just want to be a little bit lighter. So don't automatically reach for the bomb when you can get the job done with a firecracker. That's an analogy I learned from my mentor, and it really stuck with me. It's like, how can I do this process in the gentlest way possible for this client to get the best result? So color versus lightener. Why lift and tone when you can get long-lasting tone by using color versus lightener? Then you might say, well, I never get enough lift with color. I'm sure, I'm not looking at the comments, but I'm sure Brand is seeing people say, well, I don't use color because it comes out brassy, or I don't use color because it's not light enough. So you need to know what color can and cannot do and not push it to the point that it's not meant to be pushed. So there is always a place for lightener and there is always a place for color, and it's knowing the difference, knowing when to use which. So then a lot of people will say, well, if I use color, all my foils slip because color doesn't have the grip that lightener does in the foil. And I get this big liquidy mess and it slips. So my very first mentor right out of beauty school taught me by adding cornstarch, just regular everyday cornstarch that you would get to use in gravy or in another recipe. It's a thickener. It does not affect the lift in the tube of color. It does not change anything in the color result. It just thickens it. So when I highlight with high lift color or even a level 10 color or level 9 color, just using color versus lightener, adding a tablespoon, most times 1 tablespoon will do it, but sometimes I'll do 2, depending if they have super fine hair. And then you just mix it right into your mixture and it makes your hair color turn into the consistency of what it would be like if it was a powder lightener. So that's a great tip. So when I talked about like, how do I know if the color is going to do enough and not be orange? There's a math equation for your virgin clients, your young girls that come in, they've never been colored. It's not corrective. They just want sun-kissed highlights. So if your client is a natural level 6, which that's what Maddie, the model that I just showed you, let's go back to her. So she was a natural level 6. And most high lifts are level 12, usually. Some, like Matrix has an 11 series. Most of them they go right from 9 to 12. So natural level 6, where will high lift take me? You want to take the tube of high lift color is a 12. The natural level is a 6. If you want to predict where a level 12 is going to take you on a level 6, you simply add them together. 6 plus 12 is 18. Once you get that number, now you want to divide that by 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So therefore, I know that a level 12 high lift color is going to take my level 6 virgin hair to a beautiful level 9, just with color. No bleach, no glaze, no nothing. Just foil away, let it process, and she has beautiful sun-kissed level 9 highlights. And then let's do another example. So this shows you where it lands. So level 9, pale blonde, perfect. She's pale blonde. That's our goal all the time. And it gets you there with level 12. So the other example is client has a natural level 4. So this is where, when manufacturers say 40 volume gives you 4 levels of lift, it does not happen. Natural level 4, where will the high lift take me? Same thing. 4 plus 12 is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8. Look at the difference of where a level 8 lands versus that level 9. Level 8 is yellow, orange. Level 8 is our enemy. Level 8 is where we all freak out and, panic when we see it in the hair because it's so hard to counteract and get rid of. Once that evil level 8 yellow orange comes to the surface, it's really hard to get rid of it without going darker. You have to go darker or lighter. At level, an 8 is always going to give you unwanted warmth. So in that example, not to try to use a level 12 color on level 4 because before you even pop that little, when you open the tube of color and you use the lid to pop it open, before you even pop it open, you're getting orange. So don't do it. Use lightener. This math is definitely the key to my entire successful career is this math. And a lot of people never learned it from the time they started out in the industry. So in this example, a client has never had color, but only wants a caramel highlight. They don't want platinum blonde. They don't want palest ash blonde. They just want beautiful sun-kissed caramel highlights. They're natural level 5. Where will the high lift take me? Add it together. 12 plus 5, 17. 17 divided by 2 is 8.5. 8.5 is a perfect stage for caramel. That is really where, if I'm lightening hair with lightener and I want a caramel result, I purposely take the lightener off when the hair is at that 8.5. It's on the verge of going to yellow, but still has that little tinge of orange, is perfect for caramel. So that's an example where if she wanted caramel, and I've had, girls that are Latino that want that caramel result and they don't have any color on their hair, I use a high lift on them and it's absolutely beautiful. I just use the coolest high lift in my arsenal, make sure it has a lot of blue in the base, and it lands them right in that caramel zone with no lightener, no toning, no nothing. So before you choose whether you're doing color, lightener, what your pattern is, what your technique is, take the time to look at your client. I can't tell you how many times people will write to me and they'll say, this is what my client wants and this is what she has. Help me formulate. And the first thing I do is I say, can I see your client now? And they'll send me a picture of the back of their client's head. And I'll say, can I please see a picture of her face? Because I want to see her skin tone. I want to see her eye color. I want to make sure that what she's asking for is going to suit her. I can't tell you how many people ask for ashy blonde and they're completely yellow complected. They may be Italian or Latino and they have this olive skin and then they want this super ashy hair and it just does not work. So you want to pay attention. What is her eye color? What is her skin tone? Does she have blue or green veins? Did she arrive at the salon with a full face of makeup or none at all? Did she have sweatpants on and the Starbucks and, jogging shoes? So understanding more about your client's lifestyle is huge in the consultation. And then even more important is, what is her expectation for maintaining the color? We talked about my friend Truda and knowing that she's not going to maintain it the way that I want her to. So I'm going to talk, my inner circle insiders are in for a treat. I'm going to talk in this week's coffee chat as well as February coaching call about me transitioning her into a gray blending service because she has lost the right to be a single process blonde. She's not doing it well. So if your client is not going to maintain what you're doing them and yourself a disservice by giving them what they want, knowing very well they're going to have, these crazy black regrowth with white ends, and it's just going to look awful. So don't even let them go there if it's not a good idea with maintenance. So now, after we've looked at the eye color, the skin color, and we've mapped everything out, now we decide the placement. And it's important to know. So my salon in PA, which shameless plug, we are hiring and it's a great opportunity. We have client overflow. We have training. We have amazing stylists for you to be mentored with. So we are hiring. But we are departmentalized. So I'm seeing the guest first to talk about and do the color service, and then they're going to someone for a haircut. If I don't check in with my client before I start the color service, they could come in with, all one length hair. And I'm assuming, again, I'm assuming that she's going to keep it the way that it is. And then she goes to my stylist and says, oh my gosh, did you see so-and-so's new bob? I'm chopping it all off. I'm so sick of it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I needed to know that. So shame on me if I didn't ask that. So asking about the haircut, about layers. Are they going to get a lot of layers? Are they totally changing the shape of their hair? And is that going to affect my placement for the color? Hugely important. Is it layered? Is it one length? Are they doing any major changes? So when a client shows you a picture, this was a tip that I got from Nancy Braun. Nancy was one of the first colorists to bring balayage education to the United States. She was taught in France when they were only doing balayage in France. And she started doing it, and I was obsessed with it. And I was like, I have to learn it. I have to go to the best. And I went to train with her. And one of the first things that she did was, of course, magazines. I'm dating myself. Magazines were still a hot thing, and I loved my magazines. And she had a pile of magazines and said, flip through and find a photo and then turn the photo upside down. And this was huge. So if you're not sure of the placement, when you look at these photos upside down, you can clearly see the difference in every single one of these photos in how you would go about placing your foils and what technique you would use. You would not do the same thing on that first photo that's super blonde from the tip of her ends all the way to her regrowth is a lot of blonde. The next one, less. The next one, more of a chunky ribbony. The next one, a lot, like totally different techniques for every single one of these things. And you wouldn't necessarily notice it as much if you didn't put the photo upside down. So this tip, game changer. The cornstarch for me was huge. The measuring the lightener for me was huge. And turning the photo upside down is huge. So when you turn it upside down, you're looking for clues. Is there more solid color on the mids and ends than the regrowth area? So let's go back to looking at these photos. Where do you see more solid color on the bottom, not as much as on the top? The difference between the different examples. So when a client brings you this picture, put in the comments what your plan of foiling would be. What technique do you think is best for this type of finished look, where it's more of a face frame with heavy lightness on the bottom, not so much in that midsection? So take a second and comment what would be your technique. And I'm not talking about step 1, section the hair, step 2, just what would be your plan to get that type of result. So I'm not seeing answers, but there's probably a little bit of a delay. So I'm going to share my answer. So if I saw this picture, I immediately say balayage. And my version of balayage is freehand painting, open air with saran wrap. There's no foil on the head. That is true balayage. We've gotten it twisted over the last 5 years where everybody calls everything balayage. Balayage is a technique. It is not a look. So balayage, or doing the hair with foil, but teasing the hair and doing heavy, strong tip outs on the bottom. So some of you on here might say, what the heck is a tip out? What the heck is teasy? If that's not a familiar technique, that's something that you can, get more education on. But it's basically pushing some of the hair, pulling out the strand and pushing back 50% of the hair so that you get this strong, bold look on the bottom, but it's seamless and you can't see where it starts and stops. So this would be an open air balayage, hand paint it if you're good at it. If you're not good at it, don't pretend to be good at it. Like that is where you can really get yourself in trouble when you have more confidence than skill in freehand painting. You're going to get yourself in trouble. You're going to have hot spots. You're going to have brassiness. You're going to have uneven lift. So it's important to really practice a lot your freehand painting if you want to truly balayage the way Nancy Braun does, the way they do in France. I have so much respect for my mentor, Beth Minardi, because she, just like me and everybody else, when balayage became a trend, we wanted to jump on the bandwagon and we wanted to learn this beautiful technique. And we tried doing it. And for me, I had no fingerprints. My hands were all burnt from bleach and trying to do the cotton, and the cotton was up my nose and all over my apron and all over the client. And it was a mess. And I went back to the salon and I tried to balayage everyone that used to be foiled. And that's a mistake. Foil is foil and hand painting is hand painting. So that was my first mistake. And then timing became an issue. It took me so much longer because I wasn't good at it. So Beth came right out and said, at one of her events shortly after, she said, I tried freehand balayage. I really wanted to be good at it and I wanted to love it, and I wasn't good at it. So I went back to foiling because I can foil with my eyes closed. So mad respect that she admitted that Nancy's about it. And she sends everybody to Nancy. When people asked about balayage, she's like, go study. She sent me to Nancy and I learned from Nancy. And then I taught my colorist at my salon, and now she teaches at my retreats. She's amazing at balayage because she does it a lot more than I do. So however you get there, it's, concentrating more of the lightness on the ends, allowing that natural to live in that center zone too, and then making sure you have that pop around the face. So when you look at the client and her inspiration photo, does it look like a solid transformation? Does it look like she's going from, say, a mousy, boring, all natural level 6, where she just feels like she was blonde as a kid and she wants to all over have everything lighter, but not look foiled or dimensional? This is an example of that. They're like, oh, I'm just starting to get a little bit of that dishwater blonde and I want to go back to my bright beachy blonde, but I don't really want to have visible highlights. It's more of a solid transformation. So take a second and share what you would do for this solid transformation versus more of a highlighted intentional dimension. Michelle says, Chris Ann said platinum card. That's an option. But there's another option, baby lights, heavy foils. So Judy, oops, going too fast now. Judy Klinstra, I probably annihilated that. Horizontal highlights. Bryn stole you away from me. Okay, I'm going to butt out of the comments. If she was here, she would smack my hand for getting into the comments. So for me, I would do horizontal slices. So the difference between slicing and weaving is you're going to get a more solid overall lightness and not as much light dark. Like I have weaves. I always have weaves because I want that definite separation of dimension. If I wanted to look like a solid blonde without being a single process, I would do slices, and I never, ever, ever horizontal foil because I hate seeing the lines here when people pull their hair back. But if someone wanted this look and had one length hair and didn't want high maintenance, I would just do slices. I would do them horizontally. I would still probably do diagonals or, diagonals around the hairline and do skinny weaves around the hairline. But everywhere else would be horizontal. So huge difference between slices and weaves, and huge difference between horizontal and vertical. Then you want to look at, is there dramatic pops of bold highlights? This is like your vivids, your clients who want like those. It almost looks like they lifted up their hair and slapped in an extension and put the hair back down, and they have a big pop of bold color. Something like this. So big, it's not even ribbons. It's like sections of the hair are very definitively colored a different shade. It's not blended. It's not, seamless or simple. It's very bold, and the hair is more layered. So when hair is more layered and more bold like this, how would you go about doing that so that you don't lose that drama? It looks like there's a whole class within a class in the comments. I'm looking at everybody catching everybody up that missed things. That's awesome. Keith said panella. What does that mean? Is that panels, Keith? Did you misspell panels? I gotcha. Panels. Okay. So when you do a panel, what is your method? Like what does the panel look like? Hey, Tracy. Panels in the interior, diagonal back slices, triangle foil, color blocking. So you see a lot of different answers with color blocking, triangles, all those things, but there's something just so easy that you don't even have to get into all of those things. You can, it's fun to switch it up. Okay, I'm going to give it time for other people because there's a lot of good answers. So for me, when I want a bold pop, I do vertical slices. The beauty of a vertical slice is that when hair is layered, so layered hair like mine is a little bit longer, but Tracy is on here tonight. She gives me a beautiful haircut. So I do have layers. So if I'm going to take away the slide because I really want a visual on this. So if I'm getting my hair highlighted and somebody takes the time to do horizontal highlights, for me to get color from the shortest piece up here all the way down to the bottom of my hair is going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 foils to get from here all the way to here to be the same highlight. If the hair is layered and you put a bold vertical slice in there, you're getting from all the way up here to all the way down here in one foil. Boom, done. So this is where you're saving time. Now you may be on this class right now saying, I can't even believe I showed up for this. This bitch hasn't stopped talking. She just talks, and she's not showing us. You know how to foil. You know how to put a foil in the hair. I'm not here to teach you how to place a foil into the hair. I'm here to show you that there's a reason why I would go vertical on that girl that has the layers and the pop of color versus the other girl that I'm going to do horizontal slices and make sure that I build all this color in on the top layer of her all long one length hair. Big difference. So I'm saving time on both of those scenarios because I'm giving the person exactly what they asked for. What happens is we see the inspo pic and we say, okay, let me do my beauty school pattern. Let me foil, same as I always do. And then let me go in and try to make it look like the inspo photo. Is anybody relating to that? You know, you just put in your foils willy-nilly, just put them in, lighten the hair. And then you're like, okay, let me style the hair so that it looks like beach waves and I can, make it appear to be like the inspo pic, but you didn't put the color where it needed to be. And you spent an extra hour and a half putting it where it didn't need to happen at all. We waste so much time in this area in the back that I call the dead zone. I think I have a picture. Let me share this with you. So when you get to know, especially with long one length hair with that lived in style that everybody's looking for. So this was a great visual. This is not my work. I grabbed this off of Instagram and I reshared her post. But look at that triangle of depth. That's not being a lazy colorist. That's being strategic and leaving a pocket of depth so that bright blonde on the top layer now is showcased. It's almost like a spotlight on the blonde when you leave that pocket of depth. Huge, 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 huge. Taking the time to section out the hair. Like if I separate my hair right now, look at how gray my hair is. Look at all this gray. But when I got on here tonight and I started talking to you, you would never in a million years know or think that I'm that gray. All I have to do is worry about this layer that you all look at when you see me looking good. I don't need to make sure. I don't need no sympathy. This part here is all gray, but you don't see it. So why would I spend 4 hours doing all this stuff around here that nobody's ever going to see except for me if I'm in a pool and my hair gets wet and slicked back? That's when it's going to be an issue, but who cares? I'm in a pool. I don't look pretty in a pool anyway. So being strategic is going to hugely save you time and understanding the difference between all these different women. I have more, but I just want to recap that if you did the same thing. So here's an example. For this girl here, you could find yourself, and I see it again all day long, and especially from educators, not just clients sharing their work, educators teaching, that in order to get this, they foil the whole head to the high heavens blonde, and then they take the time to root down all that blonde that they just created into this look. So spending all that time lightening hair that doesn't need to be lightened when you're going to make it dark anyway is something that is a knee-jerk reaction of, oh my gosh, what do I do? I'm going to do what I always do, and then I'm going to make it look like the picture. That's an example. So if it looks more like ribbons in the hair like this, how many times have you gotten this photo? I can't even count how many times I get this photo. Clearly, she wants bold pops of color, but lots of contrast, embracing that she is a brunette. She's not trying to be a blonde. So for her, what would you do differently for her than you did for the three women before her? Because she wants to embrace most of her brown, but also wants to make it chunky ribbons and visible pop. What would be the difference in your technique for this versus the other things? So for this one, I would do the vertical placement again because I want ribbons, but I would do chunky weaves instead of a slice. So when it's the vivids and it's heavy pops and panels of color, I would do vertical slices. For this chunky separated ribbons, I would do vertical placement, but with a chunky weave. I call them SpongeBob weaves, and I teach that in the inner circle, how to do like a really wide weave where you're not going deep, where you're going to end up having a bleeding foil, but you're taking like, you know, almost like the size of a chiclet, like chiclet, lift your comb, separate, go back down, chiclet, lift your comb, separate, like buck teeth, separate it. So that's the difference for that one. So weaving versus slicing, big difference in your result. So if it's hard to tell where the highlights start and they're perfectly blended into the natural hair, that's going to be a look like this. It's like, is she born with it? Is it natural? It's not that heavy duty root melt of the last girl, the first slide. She's blonde and blended, but she's allowing some of that natural to just blend everything together. So for this look, I would do a foil highlight first, right up to the root, and then I would do the root smudge. The exact opposite of what I said not to do on the first girl. Here I would do that because I want to lighten everything and I want it to be a soft blend. So I'm going to do a traditional, like here I would do diagonal brick lay up the back. So diagonal, diagonal, horizontal, diagonal, diagonal, horizontal, all the way up the head. And I would make sure that I include the money piece from under here as well as in the front because she has those pops of color down here and here. So include all of this in the money piece, do all of that really bold. And then I would do, you know, not quite as much in that crown section, but it would be just regular foils, not horizontal at all, because horizontal is going to make it that sheet of blonde. It's going to be too much. So definitely diagonal foils, and then go back in and smudge it down so that it looks more blended and you don't see where the foil lines are. And then I think this is the last one. Maybe she was born with it blonde. So she's so blonde and, you know, wants to be so light, but also wants it to look like she was born that way and not be super bleach blonde obvious. This is an example of that. And this, I would do baby lights with barely any hair left in between. And I would only attempt this on hair that is natural level 7 or lighter. Because if they're darker than a level 7, it's not going to look like this. I think a lot of us beat ourselves up on the regular when we can't give a client this look. But the key is, especially there's a couple Australian colors who are educators that I follow, and every one of their clients looks like this. And I'm like, where do you make these people in a factory? Where are these gorgeous natural blondes? The reason they can get this pale, pale, beautiful blonde is because the client already was a blonde coming in. So she's already a level 7, sometimes an 8 naturally, and just needs that little push over the edge. This is the only time that I would do baby lights, because a lot of us take the time to do baby lights on a Latino girl that's level 4 and wants to be this light. You're just stressing yourself out. You're stressing the hair out. It is not a good look. It is not going to be easy to maintain, and it's just not necessary. So baby lights on someone who's a natural level 7 or lighter, absolutely. So now that you know the techniques, here's some time-saving tips. Any day now. Is that a blank slide? Put down the foil board. We talked about that. So I teach something, and there's a bunch of inner circle people on here, so they're gonna laugh. It's the creepy hand. Kareen is on here. We did a hands-on in-person class with Kareen, and I'm like, use your creepy hand. So instead of using the foil board for your stiffness underneath your foil, you turn your palm of your hand into your foil. Where's my camera? So you stiffen your hand and you make it a creep. I learned this from Adrienne Rogers. She's an excellent educator, and she taught me the creepy hand. So she's like, have your stiff hand underneath your foil to give you that support, because every time you pick up a foil board and take the time to fold the foil over the edge of the board and then put it under the hair and then paint on there and then pull your board out and then fold your foil up. Think of how many steps that is versus just putting the foil right up to the scalp, putting the lightener on, folding it up, and being done. That leads me to the next thing that I am when I educate people, I really try to break the habit of folding over the comb, the foil. So a lot of people were taught, I don't have a piece of foil here because I'm at home, but this is a tissue. So let's play with this. So a lot of people were taught in beauty school, take your foil comb, take the lip of the foil, fold it over the comb, and then put it in up to the scalp, because you get that tension on the scalp with your comb. I was taught, put the foil straight edge right into the hair, paint it, fold it, done. So it's that extra step. When I time people, when I do a hands-on class, and I tell them, do it your way, do it however you normally do it, and I'm going to time you. And they do a couple foils, and then I say, do it this way. And it immediately shaves off a minimum of 15 minutes off of what they're doing by doing it with the foil straight in and not fold it. And then no need for foil origami. Like, we all get so into this fold, 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 fold the corners, fold here, fold there. You're making this beautiful work of art, and all it's doing is making it harder to take down. If you have an assistant, they're cursing you unfolding all these foils, and they're pulling on the client's hair because they're so tightly folded. You don't even need to fold both sides. You can fold just the bottom and one corner. There's a million ways to do it, but don't feel like you need to fold, 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 because the other problem with overfolding is uneven lift. Sometimes you fold it so much that you get this weird crease. If you've ever opened up a foil and you look inside and you're like, what the hell happened? You have like these bands in there that are still brown. It's from too much folding because the oxygen's not getting in there. It's so tightly foiled. I think it's like the fear of bleeding is so much stronger than the fear of, taking it all apart, that you're like, I'm packing this in here and I'm making sure this is not going anywhere. But it's like later on, you're going to pay for it with all that origami folding. Number 4 is huge. I've had people I've hired and they take 4 hours to do something because they can't move their hands and their mouth at the same time. So if that is you, you know that's you. If you're oh my gosh, like this one girl that worked for me, she'd be talking and they would ask her something and she'd go, Leslie, oh my God. And she'd walk around to the front of the woman's hair and have to look at her, and she's not foiling. And I'm like, can you talk and move at the same time? And she's like, I really can't. I'm like, then you can't talk. So you just have to have a conversation with your client, get all the jib jab in before you start the foil. And you say, I want to make the most of your time and mine. So as much as I want to keep chatting with you, we're going to chat in the beginning. And then once I start foiling, I'm going to get quiet. You can talk to me all you want, but I'm not going to be really talking. or you can read a magazine or whatever, but have that conversation. Trust me, the client would rather get out on time with beautiful, pale blonde highlights with no brassy bands over you chit-chatting about your son's soccer game. That's just the reality of it. So I know you like the visit, but if you can't talk and move your hands, stop talking. Stop playing with each section like it's the first goddamn piece of hair you've ever seen in your life. That's the other thing in in-person classes. I see people, they'll take a section and they'll pick up a section of hair and they'll go like this a couple times. Then they'll weave it down here, the bottom of the hair, and then they'll look at it, drop it, pick it up again, do it again. And I'm like, you had it in your hand. Move on. Put the foil in, put the lightener on, move on. Stop playing with the hair. It's a time waster and it's a nervous thing. Take your weave off of the scalp. There's no need to slice it, to take a slice and then weave. That's two things you're doing when you could just weave it right off the scalp and you know exactly where it's going to be and you do it right at the root. A lot of times if you weave down here, you're going to tend to be a little more generous and chunky than if you're right up here at the scalp. So check yourself on your weaving technique and make sure you're not doing too much work. Stop spending time in the dead zone. I shared that photo with you of the triangle for depth. Stop going crazy in that middle dead zone on all one. Look how one length her hair is. Nobody, even her husband, is not going to see that dead zone ever. She's going to either be in the ponytail for the gym or hair all down, or one of these jobs, half up, half down, and you're still not seeing that dead zone. So don't feel like you're cheating your client out of, I saw somebody comment saying, well, the client will say you missed a spot. That client's that client. If you have that client, foil the whole damn head, but you better be charging her for all of your time and make sure that you have enough time to do her. Not every client's going to care about that. Think about when your client's checking your work, when you finish doing their haircut, they all of a sudden they go, the lips go out and they're checking themselves out and they do this. And they might do this. But I've never seen a client pick up this part of her hair, hold a hand mirror and look at the dead zone. I've never seen it. And I'm almost 40 years doing hair. I've never seen that happen. Saturate and move on. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how many people pat, 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 dip, 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 pat, 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 dip, 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 pat, 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 swirl, 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 tuck, 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 tuck. What the freaking hell is that? It's put the lightener on the hair, make sure it's saturated, fold it, and move the hell on. That's also like a nervous tick. So if you want to see what habits you have that you don't even realize you have, set up your phone on the, somewhere nearby in the salon that you can watch yourself. And you'll see yourself playing with that hair. I've seen people do this. They'll take the whole section down. This is all in a clip. And they take the whole section down and they do this and they play with it. And then they take the next section for the foil. And then they do this. And then they twist it all the way, all the way, all the way, all the way up again. And then they take it down again and they play with it, play with it, play with it. And then and I'm like, oh my God, please move on. This is why you're taking so long. So it's all those little habits. Trust me, when you catch yourself doing that, it's going to change your life. Let the natural hair act as your low light. Stop over foiling and stop over low lighting. Low lighting unnecessarily is going to lead to funky, brassy, weird fade out. I know you've seen it. I know you know what I'm talking about. You see this hair get this weird wonky color. It's the low light fading into, you'll see the base of the low light start to come out or it'll get brassy. If you don't put the low light in there ever and the natural hair is the low light, you're never going to fade funky. Less is always more, always. Unless it's a platinum card or a double process, less is more for sure. I've sent clients home that come in for a retouch and I look at them and I'm like, out. You're not staying. We're not doing your hair because you're becoming blonde anorexic. What happens is they get so much pile up of hair. My color has not been done in over 2 months and just highlights. I stopped doing the base. I let all this gray play because now I get nice, cool blonde with no urine yellow anymore because I'm not doing the retouch anymore. So less is more. The blonde will pop more with the depth surrounding it. Have you ever seen the woman at Walmart that does her own blonde hair and she looks like chicken fat, chicken fat yellow all over, roots to ends? And you're like, that is so not pretty because there's no depth and no interest popping that blonde and making it special. Very important. Use your downtime to work on your speed. Stop complaining that you're slow. I'm so slow. I'm so slow at highlights. I'm so slow. Get a doll head, set the timer, and beat your best. Do your thing, set the timer. It took you an hour and a half. Next time, maybe an hour and 20. Next time, hour and 10. Next time, hour. Before you know it. I did that in beauty school. No one told me to do it. Nobody followed up. Nobody checked me. I just was like, they're all going out to smoke cigarettes. I'm going to do a doll head and I'm going to get this foil down to an hour because I want to make money and I don't want to have to do 50 clients when I can, get done quicker and get the job done and not have to play around. Step back away from the head. This is huge. And anybody, Kareen's on here. I didn't see who else is on here that I've done I don't know if Lizzie's on here, but doing a one-on-one with me, I keep saying, step back. Stop looking down over top of the head. If you look at me right now and you look down at the top of my head, you would put 50 foils in here when it's not necessary. If you step back, you see where it needs to be retouched. Here, here, and here. That's it. So stepping back and letting the hair be in its natural place where it lives, you're going to do a whole lot less if you can control yourself. It's like we love to overfoil. I don't know what that is. Yeah, see what actually needs a highlight. Don't just pick up the next piece for the hell of it. Don't do the AI robot thing where it's like next, 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 next. And finally, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So I know that you're going to go into work tomorrow, the next day, whatever your schedule is, and you're going to look at your clients completely differently just because you were here tonight. And this is just me talking at you, dumping all this information in your lap. I love oversharing and trying to get everything in. But the truth of the matter is, if you go back to work tomorrow and you go back to your autopilot foiling and all the things and don't change any of the behaviors, you're going to get the same results. So when you step back and look at it differently, I want you to do something different. Just take one thing from tonight, whether it's adding cornstarch to your color. And I'm not talking about for single process. I'm talking about in foil. Maybe do some hand painted balayage while somebody's retouch is on. Like just try something that you learned tonight and don't just, I can't tell you how many workshops, meditation, all the things you go to, and you feel great when you're there, but then you leave and you forget everything and you don't do the meditation and you go back to being a nervous goddamn wreck because you didn't learn how to meditate on your own. So I want you to try things. And here's a public service announcement that we will have a Q&A. And of course I'm way over time, which I always am. So introducing what I've mentioned during this class is Hair Color Secrets Insider. I started in 2019, pre-COVID. I moved to Florida. I decided that I wanted to be an independent educator. And I also decided that I had said the same things over and over and over so long, training people behind the chair in my salon, that I was like, there has to be a way to just say it, do it once, say it once, and have people be able to refer back to it. So that's where the library came from. So I started Hair Color Secrets Insider in 2019. It was a library of videos, lots of great information. But what I found was people buy a lot of online courses and then they never open them and they never watch the videos and they never do any of the things. So therefore, they're still in the same position after buying the library that they were when they bought the library. They came for answers, they came for motivation, they came for inspiration. But the problem is I can't drive to your house, open up your computer, turn it on and say, push play. That has to be you motivating yourself. So we introduced the inner circle for people that are really serious about getting all the education and the support and the community. Mary just popped up and said, it's awesome. Donna, Mary, Tana, Kareen, they're all here in this free class and they're already inner circle members because they know with my ADD that something's going to come out of my mouth tonight that's going to be different that they've never heard before because there's always something new. But the point that I'm making is Donna, Kareen, all these members are here because they're a community. And the trend to solo suite ownership is amazing. You can have your own business for, $1,000 a month, and you don't have to worry about going to zoning like I did and changing your zoning to commercial, and, getting lawyers and engineers and architects and all the things. It's amazing. But it also can be lonely. It's very solitary. You're by yourself in a room with a glass door, and you don't have anybody to, um, ask questions, ask for support, get yourself out of a situation with, a corrective hair color that you're not sure of. So, can you watch videos? There's a million people out there with memberships where you pay whatever a month and it's an Instagram page and you watch them do hair behind the chair. And that's great. But it's a lot of simply just watching someone do a technique, but they're not sharing why, like I just did tonight. Why that technique, why that different placement, why a weave versus a slice, why not use the foil board, why, and the support of I'm stuck. I have somebody that I can't figure out their color. They have access to me with monthly coaching calls, and we have what's called a hot seat. So you can reach out to me at any time. We all have that problem client that we have that we just can't figure out their formula. And you just go into the group in Facebook and say, Elaine, I have a problem client tomorrow. Can I have a hot seat? And most times I'm available. I try to give me a little bit of notice, but most times I'm available right away. We do a hot seat. I talk to you like this on a screen on Zoom, and we walk through the exact step by step. I am brand free, so I'm not going to push product on you, and I'm able to pretty much give you advice on any line because I've been around for 40 years, and color is color at some point. So that's something special. And you have the library. While you're in the membership, you have full access to the library of over 100 lessons. So if you are a self-starter, if you want to do it at your own pace, you can do the library as much as you want. And then know that we have this community, the insider community, and access to me as well. And along with the course, you also get all these amazing bonuses, fast and fearless foiling, which would be a great thing to start after this class. Fearless formulation. If you're unsure, every time you go to formulate and you're questioning yourself, that's a great class to really nail down formulation. Let's Kick Some Brass is great with, answering a lot of the questions that we have, like why every time when I get my client to a level 8, is she brassy? Because level 8 is brassy, but that's a whole other class. And then Let's Go Glazy Crazy is one of the favorites. It breaks down all of the Redken Shades EQ shades and what the bases are and why to choose. I just had a hot seat with someone today, and she was like, I'm struggling with using the NA. When would I use NA versus T, and those kind of things. So that's what that class is. And they're all bonuses on top of what's in the library. This is just some bragging rights for members that say, I'm now stepping back away from my client. I'm foiling less. I'm introducing, demi color. I'm doing things differently. So we share wins with each other, and everybody cheers each other on. It's just a great way to feel good about what you're doing and to have, somebody praise you. This is Lindsay, taking a step back while working on a client and assessing where the foils need to be placed. Learning placement techniques, vertical, horizontal, baby lights, ribbons. I've learned so much from Elaine. I'm forever grateful. Sarah, step away and be intentional, less robotic. These are all people who joined 3 and 4 years ago. And we're still talking about placement and robotic today in 2025 because that's how we were taught in beauty school. So it's not your fault. It's just that's how we were taught. And we tend to do things the same as we always did. Here's just more testimonials, combo highlighting technique. I do a technique that I share called bullshit balayage. That's my favorite. It's a blend of 2 celebrity colorist techniques turned into one technique that was an easier version of both of them turned into one technique. And that's kind of like my signature thing that I teach in the library. Can I just say, I just started lesson 1 and I've already learned more in the last 10 minutes than in 1,500 hours in beauty school. I've learned so much. She has great training for color theory. So grateful she's taking her firsthand knowledge and sharing it. Officially bumped my services. We cheer each other on for price increases, when to price increase, how to price increase, how to not lose clients. So all of those things are included in the membership community. And we've made it so affordable for everybody. We want there to be no barrier of entry. We know that education is expensive, but you're also getting a human support system and a coach and mentor. It's not just a library, but all of these bonuses are also in there. These are all videos that you can access anytime while you are a current member. The Hairstylist Ultimate Mentorship. We have the Wilsons in there. We have Gary from Kin. We have Jesse Skittrall. We have Beth. Everybody's in there. All the different educators are in the mentorship. It's totally free, part of being a member. We have Fierce Financials with Donna Roggio. She talks about how to get your pricing in line, how to quote people pricing before it gets, too far into the service. Marketing, Bryn shares all kinds of marketing tips. Boundaries, I have a famous author that teaches a boundary class in there. Branding, inventory management, mindset coaching. I'm a life coach, so you get a lot of tough love in there as well when you ask for it. I don't bully you, but I offer a lot when it's asked for. So all of this is included at just $97 a month. And you can join today, stay a month and say it's not for me and leave. I hope that doesn't happen, and it usually doesn't happen. Or you can stay 3 months, 6 months, a year. Like I said, most of the people on the call tonight have been with me for, 2-3 years now, because things change in the industry. And I always bring whatever the latest and greatest is. I'm always refreshing and bringing new information. And there's no contract. There's no pressure to stay. It's you get full use of the library as long as you are a current member, as well as the coaching calls with me and the support of the community for only $97 a month. If you join right now while Bryn is on here, she's going to share a link with you in the chat. If you're spontaneous and you commit right now and you say, I'm in, I learned a lot in this class, I can only imagine what I'm going to learn in this membership, you will also get a one-on-one hair color rescue call with me. We'll jump on a Zoom and we'll talk about your toughest client that you've been stressing about for God knows how long. You'll show me pictures of him or her and we'll walk through the entire process. That's normally an hourly rate that's on top of being in the membership, but I reward action takers. So if you take action now and you don't go, oh, I'm going to talk to my husband and I'm going to ask my sweet maid and I'm going to ask my neighbor and I'm going to talk to my sister, you know if you need this or not. And you know right now. So if you do it right now, you get this one-on-one call that is $150 value as an extra fast action bonus for joining right now. You also, while you are in the membership, you get access to our in-person retreats, which are so much fun. As you can see, look at that beautiful background. That is in sunny Florida. We plan on taking the retreats to other locations in the next few years instead of having it in the same place all the time. But that's an amazing opportunity as well to meet your fellow community. So many cool friendships have come out of this picture. I can, see it right now, like Corrine and Lizzie and Sarah. So many relationships happened in the inner circle from having this community. And that's my absolute favorite part. So this is just more testimonials of how people feel after being in it. Bart, whose testimonial is here, he's been doing hair longer than me, and he's like my biggest cheerleader. He's amazing. He's like, Elaine, no matter what, no matter how many years I've been doing this, you always teach me something new. And I so appreciate him telling me that, because it really is my goal to not miss a thing. Instead of you running to the New York Hair Show, the Orlando Hair Show, the California Hair Show, and running all over the country, let me run all over the country. And then we do our monthly coaching call and I say, this is what we learned. And this is what I'm going to share with you. So it's an investment, but think about how much it would cost you to go and attend every one of those events, the Behind the Chair Show, the Orlando show, the New York show, going to all these different things for, $500 a pop. You're paying $97 a month and you're getting things that someone else in the membership went to and is sharing, something that I've gone to and I'm sharing. So just more testimonials. We have tons of them because we have members, like I said, who've been with me since the beginning. They're the OGs. They've been with me since 2019. So that says a lot that they're still here and they're still not bored and they still find value in it. I think I saw Carcela was on here tonight. So she's on here tonight and she's been in the membership for a while. John has been here for a while. So this is just people sharing, wins of colors that they've done that they're proud of, taking someone from really dark hair to blonde and blend it and having the confidence to do it without overthinking it and knowing the placement and the how is something that she got from being in the inner circle. So I don't want to bore you with all of this, but I do want to focus on this part with the money. So Jess started out the program not confident in formulation. She was guessing and using 6N on everybody. She was the 6N queen. And she started the program. She was making $300 every 2 weeks. And she was booked. She was at a corporate salon. She's like, I'm booked. And I was like, well, what are you doing with yourself if you're only making $300 every 2 weeks? So she joined the Insiders. Immediately, we got her from $300 every 2 weeks to $1,200 every 2 weeks. And this slide is 3 years old. So 3 years ago, she was making $3,000 in her average paycheck. So she saw a difference financially, not only in her confidence with formulating and foiling and all the things, she had an impact financially. So these stylists aren't lucky or special. They just decided to invest in themselves and get the education that they needed. So I want this for you. If you're tired of pretending that you know everything behind the chair and that you've got this, when a corrective color sits in your chair and you have that bead of sweat that starts at the back of your neck and drips all the way down to the crack of your ass, you just feel that one steady bead going down the back of your back. And you're like, oh crap, I don't have this. Like, I have no idea what to do, but I'm going to pretend that I do. And I'm just going to start doing something. And usually it ends up being that you created a bigger correction than they came in with. So that's the issue with faking it until you make it. I'm not a proponent of faking it till you make it. I say get the education and then you'll make it. Don't fake it. Don't pretend for another second that you've got it all figured out, because most of us don't. So I'm hoping, I didn't look yet, but I'm hoping some of you decided to push the button and take the leap because you deserve it. You're worthy of the education and the information, and more importantly, the community and the support that you will get from this group is nothing like you've ever seen on any forum. There is no bullying, no mean girls or boys, nobody shaming anybody, nobody calling anybody out. It doesn't happen ever. I don't allow it. I protect my community the way that I would protect my children. And I don't allow it because that's not what we're here to do. We're here to support each other. We're here to grow. We're here to help each other out. And it's all positive or you don't get to stay. So now we will do our Q&A, and Bryn, you can let me know if we have any leapers that we're going to do a one-on-one with. I look forward to meeting people in a one-on-one. Do you want me to do Q&A first before celebrations? Let me see if she's chatting me on the private chat. So Melissa said, I can never get level 9 or 10 blonde without letting bleach sit for 40 minutes to an hour. I see stylists say they can do it in 20 minutes. So heat is not the secret. You are right. They are wrong, in my opinion. Heat is going to, again, with the shingle, it's going to blow the cuticle open. It's going to speed things up. And then you're going to be stuck in that orange stage longer. So you keep doing what you're doing, let it sit room temperature and let it be 40 minutes to an hour, because bleach will work for an hour and a half. It's going to keep going. So let it keep going and do the low and slow, and your clients will thank you. And the clients that think it's taking too long, let them go somewhere else and have the French fried frizzy hair. You're giving them the healthiest version and doing it low and slow. So Sue, welcome, Sue. We have all kinds of members on here. So Sue is a member. She says it's the best thing she's ever invested in her 44 years of being a hairdresser. So that's a huge compliment, because at 44 years, it's hard to wow someone that's been doing something for 44 years. But again, Sue doesn't want to have to get on an airplane and go to every single hair show to see what's going on. She trusts me to bring it to her. So I collect it all and bring it to her. And I weed out the nonsense. I spent a lot of money going to Austin, Texas to go to see this fabulous, Insta-famous stylist who has the beautiful blonde clients. And when I tell you pocket curl, this was not a pocket curl. This was like so much hair. It looked like someone had a cancer treatment and all their hair fell off on the same day. The hairball was like this in the sink. And then she brought her out to in front of us and brushed it out more and had another big hairball. And that's what she was doing with her technique to get them blondest of blonde. She was just frying the hair off and saying, my clients know to expect that their hair is going to break off. And I'm just like, I can't believe I just paid money to go to Texas. Well, the silver lining was I got to meet Donna in person, who's one of our members. She lives in Texas, and we jumped in an Uber and went to see her. So that made up for the disappointment in the class. But there's what can I do and what should I do? So Melissa, you're doing it right. You're welcome. You're taking your time and you're letting the lightener do its job, and that's awesome. So welcome Jennifer K. So Jennifer K is going to have a one-on-one with me. I'm excited to meet you, Jennifer. That's awesome. I love action takers because there's going to be, a good, I would say 50% of the people that are here tonight. Some of them left before I was done speaking, so they don't even know about the opportunity to join. And then they'll be the first ones tomorrow morning that say, where's the replay? Where's the replay? Why didn't I get the replay? Like they want the replay fast, but they don't want to take the time to sit here and watch it live. So there's just different types of people and different learners. And some people, I'm the type of person, if I'm at a class, even if I'm not loving it, I never leave. I never cut it short. I always see it through because there could be one little nugget like that cornstarch that's mentioned at the end of the class that I'm going to take home with me. So there was a couple things that I learned about taking photos from that class, but it was $800 for the ticket. And it was a packed room where you couldn't even see. There was no AV, no camera to see up close. It was like, I'm all the way in the back of the room and she's foiling all the way up there. And I'm like, I could have watched this on I was part of her Instagram membership. And I'm like, I could have just watched it there, for whatever dollars a month. And I got on an airplane and I stayed at a hotel and all of my meals. It was thousands of dollars to watch her basically bald this woman and lose half of her hair. Bryn Denise is saying she can't find the button to join. Any other questions? What part of head do you up the volume? So I like doing very small batches. So I'll do nape of the neck to usually like the ear is my first batch. And then I'll remix. And then this midsection is my second batch. Then the top, this area right here is very important. So I always want to make sure this is a fresh batch. So this is another one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I usually mix 5 to 6 times, smaller batches. How many foils would you consider I'm so glad you said that. Texas Tea. What's your real name? Texas Tea. I like that. I am not a fan of a menu that says partial foil, full foil, half head, full head. That's not the way that I do color. I do color, as I said, I step back, I see what the client needs, I give them what they need. I don't talk in terms of partial, full, medium, halo, all those things. I just say today, in order to achieve your inspo picture today, your color is going to be $275. Whatever it is, I just say the price. I don't say, we're going to do a partial today. We're going to do whatever today. It's based on my time and it's based on my product. So if it's, the difference for you between a partial and a full, it's how many foils did you do? How many hours did you take? How much product did you use? That all factors in. And I highly recommend either Salon Scale or Vish to know how much product you're using and pass that on to the client. Don't eat that and don't just include it because you can eat up all of your profit with extra color. So when you're mixing up all these little batches of lightener, it's not more lightener than you would do if you mix up one big batch, but it's your time in mixing extra and taking your time and make sure that that is part of the pricing. See this community. So Joni's a member and she's like, I'm so excited for all these people that have joined. Like she's excited that you're joining. Where have you been in a group like that on a forum that people said, oh my gosh, come do this with me? No, they're competitive, they're backstabbing, they're shaming, why are you even on this forum? Are you even licensed? I've seen that so many times when someone calls themselves a baby stylist, which I don't love that. But they're like, I'm a baby stylist and, how do I da-da-da? And they're like, you're not licensed. You're a consumer. Why are you even on this page? And they just get really nasty. And it keeps me from answering because I'm like, wow, I don't even want to give this person my time even answering. So welcome, Alicia. Welcome, Robbie, Lori F., and Regina. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All these action takers, I'm going to be so busy doing one-on-ones. I can't wait. How do you get a 5 volume? So I'm not a chemist, and I'm going to give you an answer, and you're going to take the recording and take it to somebody and say, she said. So for me behind the chair, I simply take a 10 volume cream developer and I add 50% water to it. So if I have an ounce of developer 10 volume, I add an ounce of water, shake it up, it becomes a 5 volume. That's the easy answer. Technically, from a chemistry point of view, if you talk to Dennis Gebhardt or you talk to Julie Klein or people that teach the chemistry of color, they'll say, well, technically it should be distilled water and it should be less water and it shouldn't be equal parts. And if you put a pH strip and you really, I don't play that. Homie don't play that. I'm just like, this is a 5, good enough, do it. It slows everything down. Or you can use Redken Shades EQ developer is like a 6 volume. You can use that. You can use Wella Color Touch developer. So your demi developers are right around a 6. Close enough, right? I'm not a nitpicky chemistry kind of person. So that's that answer. Keep it simple. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. How long under the dryer? No under the dryer. No heat. So no heat, Melissa. Don't follow those people in your salon. Be the purple cow, be the rebel, keep them out, room temperature. If you need a little bit of heat, if everything else, if you started in the back, everything's cooking, everything looks great, and just right here isn't quite done, take all of that stuff out and down, shampoo it, put whatever on it, twist it up in a clip, leave this stuff in. Don't take it out too soon because you'll have brassiness you can't get rid of. Take a diffuser on a blow dryer and hold it really far away from the hair and keep it moving. I do that once in a while. If I'm really stuck, I just keep moving it with the diffuser because the diffuser won't let the foils blow. It'll heat them up just enough to give you that extra kick. What I would prefer you do if you're looking for more lift in the end is open up those foils, mix a fresh batch of lightener, thicker, quicker, brand new fresh lightener, wipe off some of the lightener in the foil. I have I hope it survived the hurricane. I have oh my God, Bryn, what do I call that squeegee thing to take the lightener off? But it's a tool that takes the old lightener off. You put new lightener on, fold the foil up, and then it'll happen faster than if you put them under the dryer. Stephanie, do you always mix high lift with 40 volume or only if needed? Most times, yes, because you need the 40 volume to get that level of lift. But I have done it with 20 volume and I've had great success with it. It just depends on what their natural base is. So if they're a level 5 or 6 naturally, most times it's 40 volume. If they're lighter, I can get away with 20 volume. Or if I only want like a little sun-kissed caramel, 20 volume is fine too. Alicia, if you're saying volume is faster, lift the higher the volume. Why is it said that to lift color 2, 3, 4 levels you need it? That's because the easy answer for that, Alicia, is that the manufacturers created that whole myth and they're not hairdressers. Like the people that make color and that sell color, most are not hairdressers. So in theory, they're saying that the additional oxygen in the higher developers is going to take the hair lighter. But the difference in reality as a working colorist is it makes it brighter. Brighter is warmer and brassier. So if you want to play around with color, take a level 5 hair and do hair color with 10 volume, 20 volume, 30 volume, 40 volume. I have a picture. Hold on. I have it right here because I refer to it all the time. If I can just find it before midnight. Okay, here we go. So I call this the sisterhood of the traveling swatches because these swatches have been to every hair show I've ever taught at. I'm amazed that they make it back to me. So we're taught that, 20 volume, 30 volume, 40 volume is going to be lighter, lighter, lighter. Look at those 3 swatches from left to right. Every single one of them looks exactly the same. The 20, the 30, and the 40. The difference with the 40 and the 30 is you can see some of the gray. It didn't quite cover the gray as much with the 40, but it didn't get lighter. The swatch on the far right is using a level 9 color with 20 volume. That got lighter. That gave me the lift because the lift is in the tube, not the developer. So I'm not going to get into a whole class on that because that's a whole, I think you're one of the people that joined, Alicia. So you're going to get your world rocked in the library when you see what really happens with that. But that's a great question. I'm glad that you asked that. And then here's the bleach. So this is bleach with 10 volume, 20, 30, and 40. The 10 volume, as you can see, is the most even, lightest lift. Now, this is mannequin hair, so it didn't get light per se. It's not blondie blonde. But you can see that the 40 is way more brassy than the 10 is. So it's just such a myth that has been going on for so long, I could scream. It makes me like want to run into every beauty school on the planet and say, stop the madness. We're lucky that we have Donna and Risha. We have 2 members that are beauty school teachers, and I love that they've invested in me and invested in this course and are now paying it forward to the next generation. We need more of that. We need more people breaking those myths and starting people off the right way and stop continuing it. So Cece, you told us prior that 10 developers of deposit. Did I say that tonight, Bryn? 10 volume is deposit only? I don't remember saying that tonight. But 10 volume is when they're teaching you, the manufacturers, they say 10 volume is 1 level of lift. 20 volume is 2 levels. I don't subscribe to that. The only time I ever use 10 volume is if I only want deposit and it's a brunette and they have too much gray for me to cover with a demi, then I'll use permanent with 10. But it's very rare that I do 10 volume. How do you have them hold their head for vertical chunky? I don't know what that means, hold their head. Did Jen join, Bryn? Because I can have a conversation with her another time. I'm trying to picture what holding the head. Basically, if you're going from top to bottom, you would section the hair probably right about the eyebrow, and you would do one of your vertical slices from here down, and then the next one from here down to do the top layer. So it would be two foils. Vertical foils, not to slip. If you're using color, definitely the cornstarch. If you're using lightener, mixing it on the thicker side and making sure, great question, by the way, making sure that a lot of things, and I didn't get into this tonight, what can I use for my foil? Let's use my phone. So if you're doing a vertical foil, we have the tendency with foil in general, we have the tendency to fill the foil all the way end to end with our hair. You want the hair to be in the middle of the foil so that it doesn't slip. If you take it to the very edges, especially on the curves of the head, it's going to have a tendency to try to scooch into the middle and it's going to slide down. So you want to make sure that you have space on either side of your foil and have the hair in the center, especially for vertical. How the client puts their head. I'm trying to picture why that, what, I don't know. I don't know I can't answer that, that question about the shape of the head. What is the best foil pattern to use for a curly girl that wants to wear? Yes, great question. So I personally, wait, is that Stacy J? I think it's Stacy. I personally, and you've seen me do it for Bryn all the time. So Bryn is naturally curly, Shirley Temple curls. I leave the curls the way that they are in their hair when they come in, and I pick up the whole curl. So I don't smooth the hair out and blow it out flat and then, highlight it straight so that when it curls, all the blonde bunches in one spot. I literally pick up each curl and give it what it needs. Like if this was a curl, I would leave that dark piece and I would pick up the one that's already blonde, pop that in a foil, pick up another curl, and make sure that there's separation between them. So I'm telling you, less is more. It's as simple as just picking up a curl and saying, I want a highlight here, I want a highlight here, I want a highlight here, because the curl is going to, bunch together when it's dry. It's a better way to see that pattern for sure. My bleach in the foil is never even, then I have to reapply bleach. So that sounds like a mixing issue, Nancy. I would try using a scale if you're not already. I'm going to guess that you're not. So use a scale for your mixing. Another tip is stop mixing your lightener with your applicator brush. So you're using a nylon bristle brush that moves, and you're trying to mix powdered lightener, and the powder is getting all stuck in your bristles and it's fraying your bristles. And then you need to get new brushes too often. So I use either a rubber spatula or a plastic whisk. I use anything but my brush so that my brush is in good shape. It's stiff. I can pick up a bead of color. I can lay it on the hair. It could be Bryn, what was that name? You took it away too soon. The uneven saturation. A lot of times when you go back in and dip in the bowl and go to reapply, you're actually wiping the lightener that you already put on off. So it could be that nervous habit of, I didn't saturate enough, let me resaturate, and you're actually taking product off instead of putting more on. How long do you process high lift color 20 volume? I just watch it, honestly. Usually most color is fully processed in 40 minutes. After 40 minutes, it's not going to do much more. So I just take one foil out, wipe it off really well, and really look at it to make sure it's light enough, and then just take everything down. Do you teach hand painting techniques? Danielle, I would 100% recommend Alicia. We can line it up where she can come to your salon and teach them the hand painting. She's amazing at it. She makes it look so, it's funny because we started to travel and do the hand painting classes, and we're in this salon and there's like 15 people in the class, and we're walking around and like trying to troubleshoot with everybody. While they were watching her, they were almost like, do we have to keep watching her do this model? Like, we've got this. And then they go to do it and they're like, oh God, this is so much harder. So yes, Bryn just said, Alicia teaches it in the membership. So you can watch the video in the membership, but if you want actual hands-on, that's something that she comes to our retreats and teaches that all the time. The upside down photo. So let's show that again, if I can. Let me go all the way back to that. Basically, when you look at the top of the head and you're robotically foiling, you're going to do everybody roots to ends, highlights, 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 and you're not going to know where you need more color and where you need less color. So by flipping it upside down, you can see, like when you look at this picture, Nancy, look at which one has any brunette at all at the bottom of it. Like when you look at the first picture, there's none of her natural whatsoever on the bottom, which tells me she doesn't have a basic foil. She has a foil and a tip out. A tip out is when you add extra impact just on the ends. So by turning the picture upside down, you see that. If you didn't turn it upside down, like let's do the right side up version of that blonde. Did I pass her already? So when you see this, you wouldn't notice that she's that much more solid on the ends without turning the picture upside down. You just think, oh, she's highlighted. But she's got much more heaviness and pops down the bottom than she does everywhere else. So try it with a magazine. I think watching it on the screen isn't giving the same wow factor as seeing it in a magazine, but that's how Nancy told us, because we're like, how do we know when balayage is a good idea and foils are a good idea? And she's like, when you turn the magazine photo upside down, you can see that it's surface color versus highlight. You're going all the way through and it's just like solid coverage. Balayage is just the top surface. So like you can tell that my hair is not balayage because it's every side of the hair is all blonde. True balayage, when you lift this up, this would be all natural under here and all blonde on top. So it definitely makes a difference when it's not done in foil. Why do I get a brassy blotch close to the scalp? That's all application, Dina. You're going in. I can guarantee without watching you on video that you're taking your brush and you're going right in at the scalp. So start down like 2 inches with your first application and then take a little bit more product and start to work your way up to the regrowth. Don't go in so hot on the regrowth area because you're putting more product there and not blending it well, and it's becoming like a hot root basically. Do you have a go-to section technique? I do not, because I call my hair color couture color. It's like you're not buying off the rack at Target, you're not buying off the rack at Walmart. You're getting me showing you. Like I was just talking to my friend at kickboxing tonight, and I said, have your person when she cuts your hair, she has a very square jaw. So she's like, I want to take some of my length off, but my jaw's so square. And I said, yeah, don't have her bring you up to here because all you're good for me, it's the double chin and the pointy chin. I said, everybody's just going to see the squareness of your jaw if you bring the hair up here. So I showed her a picture. I pulled a picture right up away of Jen Aniston, and Jen Aniston's first layer hits like right here. So I said, have her give you that swoopy layer right above your chin and then bring the length up just a little bit. And now you've just taken away that squareness. I do the same thing with color. If I don't want to bring a lot of attention to this area on somebody's hair, I'm going to leave. Like for me, I have a fuller face up in here, so I don't have all the blonde right around my face because I don't want to draw attention to here. I like my eyes better than here. So I'd rather bring attention to my eyes with the money piece. So it's all intentional, all like why you're putting things where you're putting them. What if your client always pulls yellow when you foil her? So I hate the word pull. People say, oh, my client pulls this, she pulls that. We talk about in the membership how to look in their eyes and know whether they're going to be a warm person that's going to have a lot of remaining warmth. And then we talk about how to avoid that at all costs by doing the lower volumes, by doing double and triple glazing, pre-glazing. There's so many parts of that I would have to unpack. But there's always a way to get them lighter. It's most times when the client lands in that urine yellow or brassy chicken fat weirdness, it's because someone used higher volumes and the higher volume stopped lifting and left them in that brassy stage. Do I like weaving combs? So I use a metal tail comb. I don't use are you talking about the ones that have the little teeth that picks up the section? I don't like doing that because I rarely have to low light, because when I retouch my blondes, I go in and I can pick up exactly where the former blonde piece is and retouch that versus being on autopilot. If I just go, I'm always bringing in another piece of brown, another piece of brown, another piece of brown. And then all of a sudden everything is blonde and loses its pop. So by going in and selecting those little strands and retouching, I'm selecting them myself. I don't like a comb to randomly pick them for me. Nancy, if you have a virgin head, knock yourself out. Do it with the comb, make it easier for yourself. But if you're trying to keep somebody low maintenance, you want to actually seek out those prior pieces and not add new pieces of brown. I hope that helps. So I promised my tech support that I would let her go at 10 p.m. So if anybody has any questions about joining, please ask those questions now so that she can get the link to you, make sure that your payment goes through and that everything works so that you're not stressed out, because I want you to get the free one-on-one. You don't want to miss that opportunity, because I promise you, if you join tomorrow, it's still great and you're going to love it, but a question's going to come up that you're like, damn, I wish I would have had that one-on-one with her. I should have just pulled the trigger last night. So if you even think that you're going to wake up tomorrow morning and do it, don't wait till tomorrow morning and miss out on the one-on-one, because I love meeting you. First of all, it's a great welcome into the community. I get to see your face. I get to know who you are. I get to introduce you to other people and make you feel more comfortable. So it's all around just a great bonus. And when Brenda and I were talking about bonuses, I was like, oh, I can send them send you a tool or a deck of cards or like just different things that I sell on my website. But she was like, no, time, one-on-one time with you is amazing. Like, she's like, think about when you were learning from Beth Minardi how excited you would be to meet with her one-on-one and have your actual question with your client answered. So that's a great incentive to just pull the trigger right now. And again, you do it tonight, you get the $150 value of the bonus. And if you don't love it, you don't stay. You've lost nothing. But if you wait, you basically lost $150 if you wait just until as soon as we hang up, which is very soon. Because Bryn lives in Thailand. So she is on a totally different time frame, and she has a physical appointment that she has to get to. So I do have to let her go. So thank you for being here. We had so many of you show up live, which I so appreciate. If you are watching on the replay, thank you for taking the time to watch the replay. Unfortunately, we have no way of giving you the bonus on the replay because you're not here and being spontaneous and buying right away. But you will really enjoy this community. You'll enjoy the library. You'll enjoy the whole experience. I promise you, this is my life's work. This is all I do. My daughter bought me a certificate to go swim with the manatees because she's like, you need a damn hobby. All you do is talk about hair color 24/7. But it is my love and passion and my absolute pleasure to share it with all of you. And I love this season of my career to just be able to help all of you navigate everything that it took me much longer to do in a faster, simpler way. So questions, still put them in the Facebook under this video, still put them in YouTube. I can come back and answer more questions. But more importantly, when you join, as many of you did tonight, thank you for taking the leap of faith. We're going to be together on February 17th. And we're also going to be, Bryn, remind me, I want to make sure I get the welcome thing. We're going to do a welcome onboarding call on the 27th. So this time next Monday, we're going to have a welcome orientation that I welcome all of you personally, whether you got the bonus class or not. We're going to meet up and I'm going to help you navigate how to do the course, how to log in, how to ask questions, all the things. So this time next Monday, I hope to see most of you there. If you're still on the fence, I'm sorry that you're still on the fence. I don't want you 1 year from now to come to another class like this and still be in the same spot that you were tonight when you showed up here. So when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I hope to see you in the Hair Color Secrets Insider Inner Circle very, very soon. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention, and have a great night.